Committee on Police and Justice, these are joint committees, by the way, will tonight try to convince the National Assembly that an ad hoc committee should be established to investigate allegations recently made by KwaZulu-Natal's Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkwanazi. He's accused several people in government, as well as in the police service and the judiciary, of involvement with criminal syndicates, interference, corruption, just a few of the allegations entailed in a briefing that Mkhwanazi held at the beginning of this month. Currently, let's show you some live pictures. Members of Parliament are still dealing with the appropriations debate. That is the final hurdle before the official adoption of the country's budget. So we expect once this has wrapped up, they will move on to the matter of whether there should be an ad hoc committee established. You're looking at a live shot from Parliament. The National Assembly still talking about the issue of appropriations. As I was saying, once this is wrapped up, they will then move on to whether an ad hoc committee should indeed be established to deal with allegations of interference and corruption in the country's police service. Let's bring in political analyst, Professor Dirk Kotze, to take this further. Professor Kotze, pardon me. Always good to have you on the SABC. How necessary would you say an ad hoc committee instituted by Parliament is at this point, considering that the President has already taken the step of appointing a judge to lead an almost similar process?
Yes, I think you are very correct of creating this parallel situation. In the case of Parliament, it's going to be, I think, what many people want to see, and that is that it should be very short, 90 days. It's a multi-party committee of Parliament, and they have quite some extensive powers. They can ask any person from anywhere in South Africa, or maybe even beyond South Africa, to come to them. They must testify under oath. They will immune from any form of prosecution, so they can present what they know, and it can even implicate them, and they can still be immune from prosecution. So there's quite serious powers that's involved in this committee that's being proposed. And if they do, they work properly, and it's sort of it's go into the party politics of the different members of the committee, then they can make very important contributions. I think the Commission of Inquiry, the judicial one that the President set up, will play a different role, and that is, I would say, of investigating evidence much more. There will be the possibility to be more investigative in nature than Parliament. Parliament will more look at it from a point of view of what is presented to them to reach conclusions. But I think it will be a combination that ultimately might work very well.
And just on that point, because Parliament, well, the joint committees had at least said that what they want to do is to deal with this investigation, an ad hoc committee that would sit for about 90 days to interrogate the claims made by Nhlanhla Mkwanazi, the KZN Police Commissioner. How should they direct themselves in terms of the guidelines or terms of reference that will guide the scope and focus of the committee's work, if indeed the National Assembly gives it the green light tonight?
Well, I think first of all, as your introduction indicated, it will be about the claims made by General Mkwanazi to determine whether that is valid or not. It will also look, I think, at the role of the Minister, Minister Mkhwanazi, as well as the top structure of the police, the different generals that have been mentioned in this. So it will be more about, because it's a limited time span that they have for this, it means that they can't go into all the different consequences of these allegations made by General Mkwanazi, but rather just first of all to establish whether that is indeed supported by evidence. I think the Commission of Inquiry can, to a large extent, go into the deeper aspects of this, and especially what I would personally like to see is extending it to the general relationship between the police service on the one hand and possible contact or influence by criminal syndicates.
And when we've seen, these ad hoc committees through the years, not all of them are able to have a situation where MPs come together beyond party lines and fully deal with just the facts, right? It can often take a partisan route. On the Mkhwanazi issue, we know in the court of public opinion, a lot of people have basically decided the good and the evil in terms of each of the sides. How do we then prevent that sort of seeping into how Parliament then interrogates the allegations and their merits?
Well, it's inevitable, as you now said, that there will be party political considerations, and the different party members on this committee will talk maybe from the position that their own parties have taken. But I think because it will most possibly be in public and it will be broadcast in the media, that it will be very difficult for them, given the situation where all the parties are in, and that is that we are getting closer and closer to an election. They want to make sure that this thing is not going to boomerang, it's not going to discredit the different political parties. So that is the checks and balance, I would say, on this process. But it's unavoidable that there will be political and party political elements within this process. But at least I think what it will happen, will achieve is that the political parties will say, well, we had our opportunity in order to deal with this investigation. We could make our contribution in that. And in the best case scenario, if that is on the one side and on the other side is the judicial process, if a combination of these two can come together and to some extent converge in terms of their conclusions, that would be the best case scenario in general for us.
And just lastly, Prof, in what ways do you think this process, be it what could happen with the Ad Hoc Committee in Parliament, the judicial inquiry as announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa, will test and taint the country's institutions, be it those where senior people may be implicated, as we hear more names in politics, the police, law enforcement, the judiciary, etc. And how might it reshape, I wonder, their future?
Well, yes, I think the person who is directly sort of affected by this will be the Minister Mkhwanazi. And it will be for him absolutely essential in order to rescue his reputation. So I guess he will be one of the prominent persons that will present their case to this Ad Hoc Committee. They can also call to them all the senior persons in the police service. So in that sense, I think this will be a shorter version of the Commission of Inquiry. But it will be something in which I think we will start to see exactly what are the trends that will come out in terms of whether there will be indeed any type of conclusion or results of this. But over and above what is the sort of the concrete, the tangible results of it, the mere fact that this is happening, because it will be important. No, the point is, for very long, these matters have been speculated about, have been known to some people, but it never came out into the public. And I think this is, for me personally, is one of the most significant components of these developments, is that it is now in the public space. The public will be able to follow this, and it will indirectly have, maybe even directly, will have an impact, for example, on the police service. They will have to get their house much quicker in order, and at the same time get especially something like crime intelligence, which is, it looks like it's almost in disarray with the fact that so many of their top structured persons are also in court.
Right.
In order to deal with all these things together.
Professor Dirk Kotze, always good to talk to you, political analyst, talking to us as we wait to see how the National Assembly will deal with the recommendation from the joint committees on police, constitutional development as well as justice that want Parliament to basically establish an ad hoc committee to consider allegations of wrongdoing that were made by the Police Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal, Nhlanhla Mkwanazi. Those have resulted in the likes of Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, the Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, having to step away from their roles in the interim while investigations continue.